now move on to the technology keynote, which will be delivered by Mr. Jerome Labat, Chief Technology Officer, Micro Focus. So Jerome is the Chief Technology Officer, and in this role, he is responsible for setting the technology agenda for the business and driving consistency in product development across the portfolio. Prior to joining Micro Focus, Jerome was the CTO for HP Software and led the cloud automation business. He joined HP from Intuit, where he was responsible for the design and delivery of the next generation IT services in support of Intuit's digital transformation. Jerome also held multiple leadership and engineering roles at Oracle. Jerome earned an MBA in International Business Administration from the Institut Supérieur de Gestion and a DEUG in Economics from Université Paris de Nanterre, France. Over to you, Jerome.
Thank you very much. You guys hear me well? Great. So what I was going to do today is kind of highlight a little bit of our own internal experience. So while I spend a lot of my time talking with customers, bringing that feedback into the products and help driving the roadmaps and drive the technology discussions, one of my roles in the company is actually to run our SaaS operations and run our software factory, our own digital transformation. So instead of walking you through just technology and concept, I'm going to explain to you our point of view on the 4 focus area, how we are innovating in that space, and how we are using that innovation internally to change what we're doing. So you saw the portfolio here. It's actually 360 unique products if you count them one after the other ones. That's a lot of things. And I'm not going to go and throw 360 products at you. What we're going to do is we're going to create solutions that are delivering value by combining together those products in a more efficient, pre-integrated way. And the reason we choose those 4 focus areas was direct feedback from our customers, from our partners. I need to move fast, I need to be more agile, security is top of mind, data privacy is top of mind. Oh, and by the way, help me manage my data. Now, if you think about it, is how do I take 360 products and how do I organize them and integrate them in those 4 solutions? So we had done 2 things. The first thing is we had to do our own internal transformation on how we build, deliver, and support software. So for the last few years, we've been internally on a migration path to, 1, transform our processes, our people, on how we do from waterfall to scale agile. So today I have waterfall engineering teams still in some areas, but the majority of the work is actually organized through a scale agile process. So we transform the process and the people and the methodology. We also transform how it is that we build and deliver software by embracing containerization. Instead of having to rewrite applications, and you guys are very familiar on how complex it is to write an application, if I wrote this application 15 years ago, the stack that I have today is completely different. The IP that I have in those applications is still relevant. And so what we've done is we are able to save the IP and modernize the software using containerization and cloud architectures and modern architectures to actually deliver the IP, but in a modern way, and then enhance that IP. So what we are really doing is we are evolving our products and modernizing the products. And the outcome for you as customers or users of the solution is once you've invested in our solution, in our product, or if you have invested in our products, you've seen all those brands, they've delivered value. You've invested, you've put some IP. You can reuse that IP. You can modernize that IP as you go over time. This was achieved through this transformation internally. I own the software factory. Internally, we are calling it the software factory. The engineers don't like that term, but that's how we call it. That's how our customers calls it. So first thing is we had to change people, process, and then bring technology to enable us to do that. Second, we cannot integrate all those products just for the sake of integration. We actually are using best practices in the industry. We're using a reference architecture called IT for IT. And that reference architecture is actually part of the open group, so it's an open system. The industry is supporting that reference architecture. And why is this important? It allowed us to codify business process with capability, so deliver value to the business, have a set of capabilities, and then line that up to a set of technologies. And what we've done in the past few years is actually really work closely with our customers to define what are the key integration flows and capabilities that you need to put in place in your IT infrastructures, in your engineering processes, in your transformation processes that you have to put in place. So a lot of deep work here that the team is willing to share in terms of how we go. So we have a large set of portfolio and asset and capability and IP. We have a methodology to transform those assets and modernize those assets. We have a methodology for the integration. And by the way, that's not a private methodology, that's an open methodology. And I encourage you to look at it. So what are the results? I'm going to walk you through the 4 focus areas one by one. And I'm going to first start by talking about the point of view. When we say enterprise DevOps at Micro Focus, what we mean is helping you accelerate your life cycle for engineering practices. It can be an ERP system, it can be a mainframe system, or it can be a net new application that is going to function in the cloud. I want to be able to accelerate my life cycle for those projects. That's number 1. But it's not just about application. It's not just about application testing. It's about making sure I can test for security, for scale. All those components are embedded. It's also making sure you have the right infrastructure that is supporting those applications and those methodology, so iterative testing, integration, builds, etc., and do that in a cohesive fashion. So when Micro Focus talks about enterprise DevOps, we actually are talking about bringing infrastructure and application together and bringing you capabilities where the two are helping the engineers build their app faster, make sure that their app is more secure, and by the way, the app can run anywhere. So very, very important. So that's what we mean by enterprise DevOps. And we have a connection into also the production system or the monitoring or service assurance system. So it's a complete loop. It's not just build an app. When I run my SaaS infrastructure and when the engineers are delivering product in the SaaS infrastructure, they are delivering products that have been tested in the context of the SaaS production infrastructure. It goes in and it's already secured. It's already hardened. The monitoring infrastructure that they use in production, they were able to test it during the engineering cycle, during the CI and CD processes. So operations processes are actually part of the engineering processes. What you're seeing is a shift left. Security testing happens at the time of building. Testing for operation practices happen at the time of building your application. This is how we move faster. From an innovation perspective, what we're putting in the product is quite interesting. We heard a lot about AI. We actually are in the process of enhancing our UFT, which is our functional testing technology, with artificial intelligence. And what that does is basically reduce the number of tests you're going to have to create and still deliver more value. So you're going to be able to test more, faster, with less numbers of tests in essence, because we're going to continue to learn. The whole idea behind this is I understand your screen, I understand what you're doing in your screen. Doesn't matter what port or platform you're running that screen, I understand what it is that you're doing, and the machine is learning, and it's helping you to better test more efficiently your environment. That's an example. The other piece of innovation there is, we talked about it earlier, Sec DevOps, DevSecOps, however you want to call it. The whole notion is security is part of the engineering process. Now, if you've practiced security in the past, as an engineer or developer, the first thing you'll say is, you know what, I don't want to do security, it's going to slow me down. Your CISO guy is just not helping me, I need to deliver my code. So we absolutely have to run security scans and help the engineer build secure application as if it was normal procedure. And so we spend a lot of time here, and I'll show it earlier with the Fortify team, where we specifically went, again, use AI and machine learning to actually remove false positive from all those scans. So that when you have an error, it actually shows up as an incident, or actually as a user story in their pipeline. And then a lot of work on how we bring this hybrid IT environment together. I talk about automation, making sure I have the right engineering infrastructure for the engineering works. Well, guess what? It's all about automation. So how do I consume this cloud? How do I consume this private infrastructure? What do I know? Where do I go? This, by the way, gives me complete governance on the infrastructure from an IT perspective. I know what the engineers are doing. I'm giving them what they need at the time of the need. Frictionless, great experience. And I have total control over what it is that they're using, governance. So a lot of innovation in that space. around DevOps. But more interestingly, this is actually our software factory. So on the left is basically a catalog of services that the engineers can go and click. By the way, this catalog is populated by our DevOps engineers. So this is not an IT guy in a place, creating a new service management portal. This is actually the IT engineers in our DevOps teams that are populating the portal. Why is this important? They can actually deliver environments, point and click or through APIs, to their coworkers. And engineers now can self-provision complex topologies, complex environment, run their test in the way they need at the speed of their needs. Quite interesting. What that did for us internally, remember I mentioned all those products and those traditional technology? Those products used to take us about a year from a life cycle perspective to build to consumption or deliver, actually. Then as a customer, you pick up that product, you install it. 2 years later, you're in production with V1. I'm in engineering on V3 because it's 3 years. Our life cycle for the product lines that we're talking about now is 3 months. Okay? 3 months. Not a product, but a set of capability and services. So not only we transform how it is that we build and deliver software, we actually completely transform how you can actually consume software. And the velocity of our delivery of capability is on par for the type of technology that we deliver. We have customers that came in with IDs. I was able to take that ID, put it in a roadmap with the engineering team, and literally deliver a container with that ID and the capability within a quarter. This is kind of the velocity the organization is going through now. So on the right is a technology called Octane. This is really about controlling the lifecycle management of your application at scale. And very important when you have those complex applications running on all those different infrastructure from mainframe to the cloud. And then you have Fortify and basically Web Inspect. This is a mechanism to make sure the engineer doesn't write SQL injection code. It's directly in their Eclipse environment. Another idea of shifting left. I'm the largest user of Fortify, by the way, in the world. Quickly, hybrid IT management, what does that really mean? It's the ability for IT to deliver services, not deliver projects. And this is quite important. So the whole work that we're doing is transforming how we're delivering our solutions and technology to help this IT transform. From an innovation perspective, a lot of work on RPA. I won't go into the details. If you guys are familiar with robotic process automation, we have some unique capability. It's secure, enterprise ready from the get-go. It scales at the enterprise scale from the get-go. The whole notion of consuming the cloud, we all know about this. How do I govern the cloud infrastructure? How do I govern my workloads, distribute them, run them, assure them, make sure they're running properly? But more importantly, it was the containerization effort. So this was a big innovation. We're accelerating there. Happy to share with you how we went through the process, the people transformation, the technology transformation. Internally, what did that look like? Well, guess what? On the left side, I have an ITSM portal. That's the same technology that I just showed you for enterprise DevOps. Okay, I'm not changing technology. I'm using the same catalog technology, the same experience, if you want, that I provide the engineers. I provide that to the IT internal users. Enterprise internal users. And then this is all the operation. This is all real-time capabilities. I'll spend a bit more time on this one, on security and governance. Data is the most crucial asset of your enterprise. And today, when we look at security and when we look at, what you need to do to protect your enterprise, you hear cyber, and then somewhere else you hear data privacy. Sometimes you hear about governance, backup, recovery, and sometimes you hear about identity. We believe at Micro Focus that we actually need to start chaining those things together. They don't go and work independently. In order to truly protect your enterprise, you need to look at your data from its lifecycle management perspective, from the time it's created, application, to the time it's been accessed, identity, to the time it's been retired. So what is the governance? What do I do with that data? Who has access to it in terms of destruction, modification, etc.? And that's really an important point of view, because what we're going to do is we're going to partner with the top of minds in terms of security and cyber, and we have a great SIEMs, and we have great capability. You heard about UBA, user behavior analysis, a new acquisition with Intercept. But we also have identity management. We need to bring the two together. We also have data governance, archiving, backup, discovery, classification. Those are critical assets. So what you're going to see us do is bring this together. And the reason we can actually deliver on this vision in actuality at customers is because we can reuse the IT automation tools that we have in the portfolio in the hybrid IT portfolio management. So what you're seeing here is bringing the technologies together, delivering more value for the engineers and delivering more value for the security team. Internally, in terms of innovation, we're adding more capability around Smart Cipher. This was a Vertica acquisition. So this is the ability to protect your file when you put them outside of your wall perimeters. And employee goes away, has his file sitting somewhere in a SaaS provider, the file will not be touchable anymore. That's another example on how you protect your data. And then data discovery content management, we're doing a lot of work there trying to bring that to a SaaS experience. Internally, this is again our service management platform connecting to our SIEM. So CISO, CIO, are working together, have the same technology for incident management and for remediation. So it's not two entities in our company, and this we see a trend. And you can see ArcSight Logger and the technology. This is our identity management technology at work, etc. So practically implementing the reference architecture and the solutions and our point of view, if you want, in actuality. I'll finish with a point of view on machine learning and just some of the technology that we have to offer to you. This is a reference set of customers that are using our Vertica technology. Vertica is a columnar engine, SQL engine. But the importance of Vertica is it actually can run natively some ML algorithm. And so what it does is you have a database, columnar, extreme scale. You have a lot of smarts in terms of capability around machine learning. And then you have a query engine that actually looks like a SQL engine. So if you have engineers that understand SQL, you can actually go query using SQL language some pretty advanced content on top of which you run your ML. The only point I would add on Vertica, you heard some of the newer use cases. What we can do with the technology Vertica, we have a specific mode where I can take the database, the brain, and I can bring it to the data. So I'll repeat that. I can take the database, the brain of the database with all the ML capability, and I can bring it to the data. I don't have to bring the data to the database. This is phenomenal from an engineering perspective and from an agility perspective. I can take an ML model, put it into Vertica, teach that model using an S3 bucket in AWS, for example, so an incredible amount of data, cheap storage, teach that model. I can then take that brain with that model that has been taught, and I can bring it into a disconnected system, a device, a machine, a car, however, a plane if you wanted to, so that you can process the data on those devices very efficiently with a trained model. So just give you an idea of what this technology can bring to the table and the velocity of some of the work you can do in terms of machine learning. And the other components and the other technology, by the way, Vertica is embedded across our portfolio everywhere. So what you'll see us do is a lot of work around how do we bring ML to our portfolio. The other piece of technology is IDLE. This is about indexing unstructured data. This is used in a lot of smart city programs around security use cases, looking at video, etc. It's embedded in the offerings. And I'll finish on this because I didn't really talk too much about technology, but I do have to finish with technology. Very proud about this project. The one thing we've learned across our portfolio, bringing all those products together and solving all those use cases, that if I put ML in, that's okay. But if I want to make very insightful decisions, I actually have to really make sure that I have the right data. I have the right context for that data. Oh, and by the way, have the right structure so that I can run the right model on top of that data. So what we're investing in the portfolio right now is this common ingestion capability that will feed all the different components of the portfolio to address the different use case. And we also have a very strong point of view there. Real-time correlation does not go away. Collecting data, logs, and doing analysis and doing hunting is there, it will stay, it will continue to evolve. Known, I need real-time correlation. Known and known and known and known, I need to do some hunting, and that's where the ML comes in place, actually. And then I have to do forcing for auditing purposes. Let's say something happened in your environment, CNN moment. So we're spending a lot of time here, we're investing a lot of energy using our technologies and others to really define what that looks like. Data model structure is going to be part of the open group piece of work that I brought up earlier in IT for IT. So everything is coming back together. So in summary, you want to go faster? That's enterprise DevOps, IT and apps working together. You want to be more agile? Transform your IT processes. Become an agile service delivery organization. You have to have the right tooling and capability behind to do that. Secure your enterprise by looking at data from its creation to access all the way to retirements and policies, and then machine learning. So those are the kind of big buckets of what we're focusing on and how we can bring help, I think, to the activities, the projects that you have on the table here. Went really, really, really fast. I want to thank you for your time and for listening.